From the Detroit Free Press, it's Tuesday, February 25th. Here are today's top stories, presented by Bush's Fresh Food Market. Bush's has over 4,000 Michigan products, including the freshest fruit and vegetables, meat, seafood, and baked goods. Stop by one of Bush's 16 locations for the personal service you expect from your neighborhood grocer.
I'm David Jesse, the higher education reporter for the Detroit Free Press. Concerns were raised about a world-famous opera singer before he was hired at the University of Michigan. Those concerns included a faculty member asking, who was going to tell him to keep his hands off students? David Daniels was hired anyways. Years after his hiring, an internal U of M investigation found that Daniels had sexually harassed more than 20 students, including offering to pay them for sex. Daniels is one of 3 recent cases where Michigan administrators have known about sexual misconduct allegations, but still allowed the accused to keep working. The other 2 include Provost Martin Filbert. Filbert is the second highest administrator at the school. The other is former football team Dr. Robert Anderson. Michigan is currently doing independent investigations into Anderson, who died in 2008, and Filbert.
This is Christina Hall with the Detroit Free Press. A 0.2 mil tax by the Detroit Institute of Arts may be small, but a vote March 10th on whether it should be renewed has big ramifications. And it's not without some controversy. Originally approved by voters in 2012 to aid the then financially strapped museum, the tax was promised as a one-time levy. That was before the grand bargain 2 years later that helped save the museum's artwork from being sold off during Detroit's bankruptcy. Now the DIA is asking voters in Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties to renew its millage for another decade, 2 years ahead of when the current 10-year levy is set to expire. The millage is about 65% of the DIA's $38 million operating budget. If the millage expires without being renewed, free admission to residents of the 3 counties and other outreach programs could go away.
This is Brian Manzullo, craft beer writer for the Detroit Free Press. One of Michigan's highest-rated beers is going to be available year-round starting in March. Kentucky Breakfast Stout, also known as KBS, is a barrel-aged imperial stout made by Founders Brewing Company. It's brewed with massive amounts of chocolate and coffee and aged in oak bourbon barrels for several months, and it clocks in at 12% alcohol by volume. Craft beer enthusiasts used to stand in line for this beer just years ago, when it was released in limited quantities. But now that Founders has gone global and sold a 90% majority stake to Spanish beer company Mahu San Miguel, Michigan's largest brewery now has the resources to brew KBS at all times of the year. Read more craft beer coverage on freep.com.
I'm Frank Witzel with the Detroit Free Press. The Archdiocese of Detroit is continuing its digital efforts this Lenten season by encouraging parishioners to post selfies on social media while wearing their ashes and tagging them # and UTG Detroit. UTG is an abbreviation for Unleash the Gospel, an effort aimed at spreading the Catholic faith. This year, the Archbishop is set to deliver the homily at a 12:15 Mass at St. Aloysius Church, and then bless and distribute the ashes. Wednesday, of course, marks the beginning of Lent, 40 days of prayer and penance. It follows Punchki Day, the last day to eat fatty foods such as punchki, the deep-fried Polish donuts often filled with jelly, before giving them up for Lent.
I'm Kirkland Crawford with the Free Press Sports Department and an update on the Red Wings. The NHL trade deadline came and went on Monday, and there were some moves made by Red Wings legend and general manager Steve Yzerman. Early Monday morning, the Wings sent defenseman Mike Green to Edmonton, where former Wings GM Ken Holland runs the show. Then about 90 minutes before the deadline, Detroit traded Andreas Athanasiou to, you guessed it, Edmonton. Now, the Wings didn't exactly get a bunch of difference makers in return, but rather the main prize were draft picks, a conditional pick for Green and a pair of second-round picks, both this year and next, for Athanasiou. The Wings, who are the worst team in the NHL by a mile, now focus on closing out this rough season, beginning tonight against the Devils at Little Caesars Arena.
Do you like what you're hearing in our news briefing? Let us know, whether it's a question, comment, or something you just want to hear. You can share your opinion by emailing us at voice@freep.com. That's voice@freep.com. See you tomorrow.